Hello and welcome to the Mac Gamecast episode 65. I am your host, Jon Carr. As always, and with me is co-host Casper. How you doing, Casper?
Very good. There's been so much exciting stuff happening in both the games and the Apple world and the intersection thereof, and I'm really excited to go over it all and talk through it because oh boy, a lot has happened since our last show.
It has, we had hoped to have the episode sooner, but I was away on a trip for 2 weeks, but it really amounts to three with prep and getting over jet lag and whatever, and then trying to schedule the show. So we're sort of, it's mostly my fault. So sorry about that. If anyone was
I
hoping
also got
for,
sick for 1 week where we tried to schedule it, so a bunch of
yeah,
stuff
but
has happened. But
bulk of it's been me. Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, a ton of really cool stuff. New hardware, new games, new computers, new tech stuff, cool content in the app gaming ecosystem from creators, MrMacRight, and so on. A lot
Mhm.
of fun stuff to cover. So, what do you want to start with first? Because you made the list.
Um, I mean, I think we should just start with all of the major announcements because, like from the Apple side.
Mm,
Um, I don't necessarily think we need to comment too much on every single point because we are a bit late to the game. A lot of creators have already made reviews and videos and all of this. But I do want to touch on it all, especially from the perspective of Mac gaming, which is our unique angle that not necessarily that many others touch on in reviews of these products and stuff.
right.
Um, but of course, Apple held several announcements over a couple of days, including M5 MacBook Air, MacBook Pros with M5 Pro and M5 Max, and then kind of the star of the show in many ways, the cheap MacBook Neo with the iPhone chip, the A18 Pro, which I personally am super impressed with the value proposition of that computer. I know a lot of people are complaining that it's an 8 gigabyte RAM computer in 2026 and oh how horrible it is, but also the RAM prices are crazy. So I get it, and frankly, the value you get out of that laptop if you just need something basic is incredible in my opinion. Um, but of course, from the perspective of someone who cares about fairly demanding video games, um, it's not the most appealing product in the lineup. You will be able to run the most basic games on it. It has approximately the same kind of compute capabilities as an M1, stronger in some respects, worse in others, but it's that kind of level we're looking at. Slightly worse GPU and raw performance, but it also has more advanced GPU features that you don't get in the M1 and such. So if all you're after is like basic gaming performance and the ability to play simple 2D games and casual games and even like more demanding games, but on super low end settings, then yeah, it can do that. But yeah, it's
Right.
not the star of the
Yeah.
show from the perspective of people like us, I think.
Right, right. But if you want to just play like Apple Arcade or some basic indie games on Steam and whatever,
Or even like
yeah,
pretty good, uh, I would say advanced games like Hollow Knight that are simple from a compute perspective, but still um,
look
cater
really
to
good.
an
Yeah.
enthusiast audience, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. For sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
Slay the Spire 2 just blew up, has over 500,000 concurrent players. That'll run on
Mhm.
almost anything, including your snazzy new MacBook Neo. My father
Exactly.
just bought one. He's not a gamer, but he was like, he was thinking of buying a different iPad or a different this. I'm like, just the other day, Apple released a $500, $600 laptop. He's like, say what? He doesn't follow the
Mhm.
tech news. He follows geopolitics and whatever. And he was like, so I
Mhm.
pulled it up on his computer and showed it to him, and he was just like, "Bye." um, it's 500 with an Apple education discount, or at other places 600 base.
Mhm.
He just got the base model. He didn't need more storage or whatever, and no, it'll be
Yeah.
perfect for him for
Mhm.
sure.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a perfect machine for a lot of people. Apple has also made a statement that it is the best initial week for Mac sales to new Mac customers ever.
I can imagine.
So yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
for the longest time, one of the main complaints about the Apple products from either A, people who don't have them, or B, people who do, is they're just too dang expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's my point of view. It's just been a long, everyone knows that. So, or
Hmm.
everyone's heard that. And so here they go, a cheap computer that doesn't feel cheap and doesn't
Yeah.
have quote unquote cheap performance compared to its peers in that category, Chromebooks
Mhm.
and cheap laptops, and all that. You
You
still
you
get that
can
Apple
absolutely
build
find
quality.
computers in that sort of price range that will, from a pure performance perspective, perform better. Beat it
Right.
in
Yeah.
graphics tests, beat it in CPU tests,
Yeah.
and so on. But they're going
Right.
to be plastic machines with at most a 1080p screen
Yeah.
that has horrible viewing angles, and there's going to be terrible keyboard, and the trackpad is going to be one of those plasticky, gooey, rubbery feeling ones
Yeah.
that don't
Oh
have
no.
multi-touch, and yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so
Right.
yeah.
For sure. Agreed. Yeah, so very impressed by all of that.
Hmm.
Apple quality
But
and
definitely
differentiation.
definitely from a gaming perspective, the big things were that we got the bigger M5 series chips, the Pro and the Max, and they fall in line with what you would expect from a performance perspective, but they are very interesting looking under the hood technically. When we got the M5, it didn't look like it was going to shake things up all that much. It was a new iteration of the microarchitecture, giving us a refresh of the cores. They were faster, all good. But what we're seeing with the M5 Pro and the M5 Max is that they are actually fundamentally changing the way they built these chips, going into more of a chiplet architecture, what Apple calls fusion architecture, sort of using that same kind of branding they use with the Ultra Fusion interconnect between the Ultra chips, fusing the two Maxes together. But this is on
Yeah.
a chiplet kind of design with the Pro and the Max, where the core complexes are divided more up into chunks, and you can have smaller individual dies that collectively make a big SoC. And they've made a brand new type of CPU core in this. So before we had the performance and efficiency cores. Now we've also got a core in the middle, which is now called the performance core. And what used to be called the performance core is called the super core. A
Oh wow.
lovely rebranding and naming thing that just makes it, in my opinion, more confusing than it needs to be. They should just have called the new thing the middle core, I think, or whatever other new name for it, instead of rebranding one of the existing cores. And then they needed two new names instead of one new name. I don't
Yeah, a
know.
little
Yeah.
confusing. Supercore sounds really cool though.
Sure, but the thing that annoys me is that the supercore isn't the new thing. It's just a new name for an existing thing. And the existing name is the new thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. But
A
that's
little strange.
the layout of it. And we got reduced super or performance core count relative to the M4 series. So the M4 had 12 quote unquote super cores that were called performance cores back then. The M5 Pro and Max now has a maximum of 6 of those, but where the M4 generation had 4 efficiency cores that were the small efficiency cores that were also seen on the base chips, the new M5 generation has instead the new mid performance core and 12 of them. So in total, 18 cores, more CPU cores than ever before. But the actual topology layout of it all is quite different to what it used to be.
Right.
And we are also seeing some benchmarks react quite differently to this, where some performance tests are actually showing performance regressions relative to the M4 generation, where the M5 Max will perform slightly worse than the M4 Max. Likely a thing that will be improved over time as things get tuned more for the new architecture.
Right.
Because in total, it is performing better in most tasks, but there are a couple here and there where it is performing a little worse.
Right. You
But
had
that's the
posted
basics.
some stuff from Max Tech YouTube that, well, it was all
Yes,
positive, so I didn't see the negative areas, but
yeah, but there are a few negative things here and there. I think one of the tests that were done that show a regression was Lightroom, exporting a whole bunch of things in Lightroom. There was also some Logic Pro music creation tests where the way it allocates resources to the cores, it was leaving some cores underutilized and thus resulting in fewer tracks being able to play at the same time in the
right.
the workstation, audio workstation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in like an overall sense, it's a faster CPU. in sort of the same performance level you would expect if you were looking at the performance delta between M4 and M5. Sort of the same delta here with the M4 generation to the M5 generation. It just comes from a different layout and has different trade-offs and stuff, but it's sort of similar
Yeah,
deltas.
the most impressive numbers were the ray tracing test.
Absolutely, they've massively improved the ray tracing capabilities across the different iterations of Apple Silicon ray tracing. So yeah, much better ray tracing performance than the M4 and especially the M3 generation.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's double from
GPU
M3.
performance, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, double from M3, quite impressive. And they've also improved on the geometry rendering on the GPU. And like for a rasterized workload that doesn't make use of ray tracing, it's pretty common to see around a 30% improvement in graphical performance. With ray tracing, you'll see significantly more, 40, 50, around there from M4%. And of course, machine learning, the whole thing with the neural accelerators, that's going to be wicked fast compared to prior generations.
Right.
But that's sort of the highlights of the chips. Pretty steady progress from the Apple series of silicon generation on generation. There, like if you have an M4 generation, there's nothing here that's like so amazing that you need to immediately sell your property and go out and buy new stuff to get it. You wouldn't expect so from a single generation jump.
Right.
I don't think anyone should expect that. And it's kind of good that we're not seeing that because that'll get expensive real fast.
Yeah.
But it is a solid improvement year over year. It shows that the improvements are continuing. It wasn't like a case of we're dumping Intel, moving to Apple Silicon, and then we're stuck on effectively M1 level performance forever. It is increasing as it should, and keeping up with industry trends and staying ahead in a lot of cases. Yeah, it also is something I've been thinking a bit about is that the GPU vendors, AMD, NVIDIA, and to some degree Intel, have a fairly slow upgrade cycle. Commonly like 2 years plus, right?
Yeah.
Apple Silicon releases more regularly than that, including GPU improvements. So we could get into this interesting cycle where, like, right when a new GPU comes out from NVIDIA, Apple might be more behind on the GPU front from a direct comparison perspective. But then Apple mid-cycle, kind of on the NVIDIA side, catches up a bit, and their especially performance per watt, right, is significantly better because they have that faster iteration cycle.
Right.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the main takeaways in the announcement. Since our last show, they have also announced AirPods Max 2, but not necessarily that interesting from a gaming perspective, but some improvements all around, bringing some of the features from AirPods Max, AirPods Pro, the newer generations of that, to the Max. H2 chips, better latency, allegedly better audio quality, though they didn't really go into that much specifics on what that means. And there's the new Studio displays, which I've gotten the Studio Display XDR that I've been raving about for so long, wanting. Very happy with it, but I'm not happy with the price. But I've been wanting it so long that I pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah.
But like the basic, I guess, lower end of the two Studio displays is basically the same as the prior generation, the first generation Studio display. It's got Thunderbolt 5 controllers instead of, what was it, Thunderbolt 3 or 4 on the prior one? I forget. And then it's actually kind of interesting. The Studio Display and the Studio Display XDR are faster than the MacBook Neo because they come with A19 and A19 Pro chips inside that you can't use as a computer. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
So it's like if you could use it as an iMac, it would be faster than the MacBook Neo, but it is just a display. And in these times of incredibly expensive RAM prices and stuff, there's 12 gigabytes of RAM in my monitor. It's
Oh my goodness.
It's
What
incredible to think.
what what is it doing with all that compute power in the monitor?
That's actually quite interesting because it has a reputation that it is just to run the camera and the speakers and stuff, and that's partially true. One of the main reasons that Apple put an iPhone chip in these displays is to get the digital signal processing from the iPhone chips in the display, so they can use it to color correct the display, or sorry, the camera and stuff. Right? That is a major part of it. But Apple also released a white paper about the Studio Display XDR, and at least specifically for the Studio Display XDR, they're also running a machine learning model on the display panel, which there's a bunch of sensors in the mini LED layer that actually measure photon output of the actual LEDs. So one thing is what voltage they're getting and what they're supposed to deliver in brightness, but another thing is what they're actually producing. And the machine learning model is taking all of this into account with the LCD layer and trying to figure out if bloom would occur or not and adjusting everything accordingly. So there's a constant machine learning model running on that A19 Pro chip.
Wow.
To correct for blooming and these sorts of things on the display. It's pretty wicked.
Very nice. Yeah, that's super cool. I wanted to step back a moment to the well, the M5 Max or the Pro or whatever, and the AirPods, well, Max again, all these names. Yeah, if you have a really good M3, like M4, probably nothing. If you have an M1 or M2 range and you want to upgrade, that's a no-brainer. If you already have an M3 Max, well, it depends what you're playing. Like we mentioned, maybe if you're playing exclusively ray tracing heavy games, well, you'll see an enormous leap in performance. I mean, okay, that still depends on optimization of the game, but
yes.
so far we've been pretty impressed with ray tracing on Mac games lately in terms of its performance and stuff. So that's there. An M5 Max, like 16-inch laptop is like almost $4,000 though, or something. It's US. That's not cheap, but
Apple did modify the pricing structure a bit with these announcements as well. So they didn't exactly make everything more expensive, but they moved around the base configurations. So you're required to get more storage.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you get more storage cheaper than before. But by not having a base storage model that is lower cost, then the price to get into these machines is higher, even if the value is also better. So it's a bit of a trade-off there.
Yeah, if money's no object, never been really a better time to snag a machine. I mean, we've been impressed with Silicon basically forever since it came out, and just keeps getting better and better in some pretty impressive ways, as Casper was describing earlier, with all the architecture and the gains. So if you want like probably a really good rig for the next 5 years or more even, then like an M5 Pro or Max will really set you up.
It is worth noting though that there are quite a lot of rumors out there that before the end of this year, Apple will release another set of MacBooks Pro with potentially M6 OLED displays and a redesign.
That's true.
So it is worth keeping that in mind too. I would honestly only really buy a Pro tier MacBook Pro if you are needing it right here and right now, or have a professional justification or something.
Right.
Otherwise, I would be holding off for one of those, staying with what you've got a bit longer if you've got something already. This does not really go for the lower price models. I think a MacBook Air or a MacBook Neo is a fantastic time to get into that. Yes. For the pros, I would wait a bit. Though there is also some rumors suggesting that the M6 generation models are going to take an even pricier spot in the tier list. The existing models we have now are going to stay as they are, as the entry-level priced options, and the M6 models with OLED are going to come in at an even pricier point in the pricing stack.
I wouldn't be surprised. OLED is really nice, but it costs a pretty penny, and of course, just maybe we'll see if it's the price increase is mostly just from the OLED or the M6 is some enormous jump as opposed to just a sort of standardized generational jump, i.e. M4, M5, and so on. Yeah, no, I did hear those rumors too. I'm glad you brought them up though, because it is relevant. And on the AirPods Max rather, I mean, they're not directly related to gaming, but if you want really good audio and you're in the Apple ecosystem and you like over-ear, headphones, and obviously, again, if you have the coin, because they're I think $500 or $600, again, that's U.S. price. Then I would imagine they're a good buy. Multi-use outside of gaming, listen to music, walks, travel, probably really nice on airplanes. I heard the noise cancellation's quite a bit better than the previous or the current generation, or sorry, yeah, the old generation one. That would be one of the things that attracted me the most to it. It said it was 1.5 times better. Who knows if it is, but that's what they say. And it also has, if you're like a real audiophile, I think they have some lossless audio playback capability as well.
Yes, but the old models also do. It's just
they do. Okay.
Yeah, it's slightly tricky. The first generation with the Lightning port requires an adapter to get the lossless audio.
Okay.
Then they made the USB-C variant of the first generation, and with that you can just use the USB-C plug it comes with to get lossless. And that's the same for the second generation. You do need the USB wired connection.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
But ultra high quality pair of headphones for the price. I've basically been waiting. We'll see. I'm not in a hurry to buy them, but I'll probably inevitably end up with a pair in the next year or two. We'll see. General use plus gaming. I will talk more about games later, but just wanted to backtrack a little there. The Apple onslaught of product releases is very impressive. The M5 things, the AirPod Max, the MacBook Neo, the Airs, the new displays, the rumored stuff coming. It's been like a real wave of product releases. Which is
I like to also add about the display that it's quite interesting that Apple explicitly calls out gaming in the white paper they released alongside the the Studio Display XDR, which takes the place of the Pro Display XDR. But so they released a whole technical white paper describing the tech behind it in the frankly fairly surface level detail, but still it was interesting. There's 6 timing controllers and everything inside this thing, but they explicitly call out gaming and the high refresh rate and low input latency response times on the display, and how in a future update it's going to have a setting where you can configure some of the machine learning model I mentioned and stuff, turn that off to get even faster response times and stuff. Specifically mentioning gaming on all of those fronts. And I find that interesting in 2 ways. One of them is that it's focus on gaming from Apple, which we love to see, but also the fact that we're talking about this in the context of a display that costs $3,200.
Yeah,
and I am a big enough idiot that I bought this honestly having gaming as one of my primary things in mind when I bought it, thinking it's going to look great with my games. But I did have a lot of other use cases for it, and I frankly think it's a ridiculous price point for a monitor that even remotely has that market as a focus. I'm not saying it is Apple's focus. It is a professional level monitor that they have photo and video work in mind with this thing as well and stuff. But just the fact that they call out gaming is interesting to me.
Right. Absolutely. No, it's nice. Another gaming related Apple thing was, at least, I mean, it was in the, I don't know if you can call it in the news, but Apple was at GDC, right?
The Game Developer Conference, which coincides, I guess. Sort of. There's a few days between them. The Games Technology Conference, where they also had a minor presence. But they had a 3 talks for the event. They had one that was just a general overview of porting games to Mac and the experience of Apple hardware for gaming and stuff, trying to get some gusto behind it in the game developer community, showing what Macs are like from that perspective. Then they had one that was in collaboration with CD Projekt Red, where they specifically talked about the experience of bringing Cyberpunk to the Mac, both from Apple engineering perspective and from CD Projekt Red perspective. None of these talks are available publicly, unfortunately, at least at time of recording.
Right.
Sometimes videos come up quite a bit later, and sometimes they just never do. So it's hard to say if that'll happen. But these are just like some summary descriptions of the talks that are available on the GDC website. And the last talk was a marketing related talk about how to monetize your apps on the App Store and get the most out of App Store marketing and reviews and managing that sort of thing. So, in my opinion, less interesting, but of course still crucial if you want to make a living off of making video games.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for me, I was just mentioning it because, it's nice that, you can see, okay, Apple's making an effort here to go to important events and, talk to developers and work with them. And especially, I would have found the Cyberpunk one fascinating, A, because I'm a huge Cyberpunk nerd, and B, because I've always really enjoyed from a, I don't know if you want to call it journalistic perspective, but the process by which games make it to the Mac, to people to do it, and what challenges they had, and what went well and what didn't, and what they learned. And, especially a studio like Feral, not Feral, what am I saying? That's coming up later. I was just looking at it. CD Projekt Red, I'm a big fan of them. And so we'll see if more of their stuff comes to Mac. It hasn't been a long time. We had The Witcher 2, then way back, then The Witcher 1, which was a wine port. That was terrible. Then they fixed it. Then we skipped The Witcher 3. Witcher 4 is in development, and then Cyberpunk showed up. So, yeah.
To some degree, you could argue that the Cyberpunk is the only native game they've made. The others were quote-unquote native Mac bundles, like they were the .app bundles that you just clicked and they would just launch and stuff. But they did both run through, the first one ran through Wine, the other one was more native than that, but it still had some Windows translation stuff going on in there, and
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we already, of course, we've talked about Cyberpunk a lot on the show in general, but it's worth reiterating that the performance of it is really good, even on just my M1 Pro, which is now at this point a 5-year-old machine, and I was really impressed at the performance, even on a machine like this. What to speak of an M4, an M5, whatever. And
you can lower the settings sufficiently to get 30 FPS playable performance on the MacBook Neo. So
yeah, pretty good. So that was cool. And as long as we're on the games front, as I just mentioned, Feral, it's because MrMacRight fairly recently, let me look here, March 7th, on YouTube, he interviewed Feral Interactive, not as a whole, but Edwin Smith, who used to be lead game designer, but is now head of production. And also the now lead game designer, let's see if I can get this name right, Valeria Petruzzelli. The two of them were on. They weren't talking directly Mac games, at least as a major topic. Maybe it came up. I didn't listen to the whole thing yet. Was bringing Tomb Raider to iOS with Feral Interactive. Name of the interview. If you're not already subscribed to MrMacRight, go check him out. He's awesome. But Feral Interactive is basically the last remaining, you could say, quote unquote, old school bastion of, Mac game porters that have survived into the modern era. Not that there was a huge amount of them, but, Macsoft is come and gone. Aspire exists, but is gone from the Mac space. Virtual programming was always on the fringe, even in their prime, but they vanished seemingly. Or maybe I think they do some mobile games now or something. And there's others I'm forgetting that have come and gone. But Feral has remained. Sure, they don't really port that too much to the Mac these days. I expect the next Mac things we'll see out of them is probably like a Warhammer 40,000 game, Total War or something. I don't have any rumors or info. I'm just guessing. Because they only put out a Mac game once a year or every 2 years now, basically, while they do iOS games and Switch games and stuff like that. They got to go where the money is. I don't blame them. But fans.
but for the interview, I will say it's a fantastic interview. They touch on a bunch of fun things. They do touch on Mac gaming as well, but of course, it's from the perspective of bringing Tomb Raider to iOS. But they talk about the differences between porting it to Mac and porting it to iOS, the different considerations, both from the perspective of the APIs, the hardware, and differences in that, but also just the fundamental differences in user interface design and making the game playable, and what kind of limitations you have porting to a touchscreen, but also what kind of opportunities that give you for things like innovating on the QuickTime events that were in the game and making that not just press a virtual joystick button, but actually tap on relevant parts of the screen and do swipes and that kind of thing.
Right.
That make those QuickTime events more immersive and interactive and stuff. So like genuinely fantastic
mashing
interview.
F or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that. I had only listened to part of it, so I didn't get that far. But
but yeah, I can highly recommend listening to the full interview with MrMacRight on YouTube. So. Pluck.
Yeah, super cool. And like I said, just happy to see Feral still in the game, literally and figuratively. And yeah, we'll see. Because they always put out a really good port. Really finely tuned, all the options, all the advanced, graphics and tweaks you might want to mess with. And we don't always see that with a Mac game, obviously. Sometimes the port's generic or bad or low options. And that's less common these days, but it still occurs. And yeah, so just big shout out to them. And of course, I'm a big Tomb Raider fan. I played, well, not literally all of them, but Tomb Raider 2013 and then Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think from 2017 or something. Both by Feral, big fans. I had a copy of the third one, but I didn't like it enough to review it, so I never played it more than like an hour. But yeah, big shout out to Feral, big heart emoji in modern lingo. So that's always fun. We have other game stuff. I know you have some interesting things to say about Civ 7, but before we get into that, because I kind of want to talk about Resident Evil 9, I wanted to shout out a list of games that has released since our last show, which is several things. One of the biggest ones is, well, depending on your point of view, Slay the Spire 2. We already mentioned it earlier. That is in early access, I believe. But it's out on Steam, it's playable on all the platforms. And, obviously it's a sequel to Slay the Spire. It's in the name. And it's, doing huge numbers. They already sold 6 million copies or something bonkers. And they're really happy about that. I love card games, but I don't like the visuals of the game annoy my eyeballs, so I can't get into it no matter how I've tried multiple times. I've tried the video game more than once. I bought the physical board game. They made a board game. I played that, which was like more fun for me than the video game, but I still didn't keep it. I played it with a guy who was like a Slay the Spire super nerd. And again, he liked a lot about it. But anyway, can't say anything bad about the game other than it's just not really for me. But that's big. Hitman World of Assassination, I think, came out, which is sort of like Hitman. They all call it Hitman. They keep just sort of making... It's kind of like, I can't call it Hitman 3 of the new ones, but it kind of is. But they just keep making like a new chunk and then sticking it into the old one. It's kind of hard.
It's basically Hitman 3, but with Hitman 1 and 2 included, and like it's kind of continuing to get content but it's also based on the existing content and stuff.
You can buy it in chunks where you get essentially like various levels and targets. So you can just buy like 1 or 2 or 3 pieces of it or all of it. And anyway, if you like Hitman, again, it's well optimized. Am I crazy? Feral at least did the original one, I thought. I don't know if they did this one.
It's a really funky flow here because the first one of the new ones. Fantastic, right? The one just called Hitman, but not the original one, just called Hitman, was made by Feral for the Mac. Then Hitman 2 never came to Mac. Hitman 3 / World of Assassination was out for a long time on other platforms. And we were just like, okay, so we just get the first one on Mac. Then Feral ported... I forget if it was just World of Assassination or if they first ported the first Hitman again to iOS. Then they ported World of Assassination, if that wasn't just what they did in the beginning, to
Right.
iOS and Android. And now we're getting it for Mac, but I'm actually not sure if it's been set if it is the Feral port or if it's an in-house one. But I'm imagining it's been made by Feral, even if I can't confirm that on right now.
Right. Yeah, but
But it's definitely a
interesting.
funky flow.
Yeah, it's a funky flow. We have a new RPG that's doing pretty good, Banquet for Fools. We have a cool mech game, Mechabellum, that just it's been out, I think, but it just got a Mac version, native Mac version. And the big Kahuna, which everyone, at least in the broader gaming world, has been all a tizzy about, Crimson Desert. We
Hmm.
mentioned this like a year or two ago. Is coming to Mac,
Yeah.
and surprisingly, it's out for Mac day one on Steam, on the App Store. It's wherever you want.
Very thrilled about that. I haven't particularly like played it yet. I haven't. It's gonna be a while before I will get to it. But I'm very thrilled that we're getting a big game that there is so much buzz around in the general gaming space. Day one on Mac. It's great for the platform. It's great for the future of games here. Really happy about it. And then um, both on Steam and the App Store is great too. We're not getting locked out of one or the other. There are some differences between the two that are worth noting. Major one, of course, is that if you buy it on Steam, you also have access to it on a PC if you have both, or if you have a Steam Deck or whatever.
Right.
There's also some differences in the update cadence. The Mac App Store version has, as of yet, not gotten the last two patches that the Steam version has gotten. Um, so that's a bit of a bummer, but hopefully that's just like a slight delay rather than something that's going to be an ongoing problem.
Yeah, because
Um,
every patch I think has to go through the Apple review process, whereas on Steam I think they
yes,
just basically push it and it updates.
basically there's some minimal validation, but it's not a manual process, I believe, as it is on the App
Right.
Store.
Right.
Um, those are like the major two differences. The game is otherwise basically the same. If you are in a very memory constrained, like 8 GB machine or something, you will technically get slightly better performance on the App Store version because you
Oh,
don't
really?
need Steam, you don't need the Steam overlay to
Oh, yeah.
exist in the
Right.
game and stuff. But it is a minimal difference. I wouldn't make it a deciding factor on which version you get. Personally, I would get the Steam version.
Yeah, I would
But
as
yeah.
well. It's just generally better, unless for some reason there are some people out there who dislike the Steam app or ecosystem, but
Mhm.
the average gamer doesn't. They do recommend in the minimum requirements by the devs is a 16 gig machine, M2
Mhm.
Pro, M3 or M4. Recommended,
Yeah.
however, is M3 Pro, M4 Pro, or an M5, both
Yeah.
16 gig
So about that,
configurations.
if you have an M2 Pro, I wouldn't recommend the game. It does say it is supported as a minimum spec, but it's gonna be real rough. You're gonna be running at like 260p internal metal FX resolution or something.
Right.
The
Yeah, this is
game
a.
basically,
I was going to say it's got huge draw distance, expansive open world action RPG. Like
mhm.
it's going to be demanding on your system, not a lightweight at all.
Yes. And worst of which for the M1 and M2 is that it's got always on ray tracing. There is a ray tracing toggle in there. You can disable it, but it doesn't actually disable all of it. There is going to be some software ray tracing running at all times if you don't have hardware ray tracing. So that's going to massively hurt the M1 and M2 generation. So yeah, if you look at performance charts of how well the game runs, you can see a massive difference between the Apple Silicon versions with ray tracing hardware and the ones without. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's telling that their recommended spec is an M3 Pro, and that's on the lower end of recommended.
Hmm.
Yeah, but again, really happy this game's here. I'll play it eventually, not right now. So I'm in the middle of playing another game, and I've taken a weird, like, moody turn game wise where I used to just be really just huge on fantasy and medieval, or not even necessarily fantasy, but like medieval era, whatever. That's sort of RPG, sword and board, spells, shields, whatever.
Hmm.
But lately I'm like really turned off by it. Not because I suddenly hate the genre, I'm just not in the mood. I basically only want to play something modern or sci fi. I've noticed that in like my board gaming and tabletop, and I used to have all this stuff. I was deep into just D&D style board games and adventures and whatever. And for some reason, I'm not in the mood. But Crimson Desert does look really cool. It's a very ambitious game. It is based in the world of Black Desert Online, which I think at some point was supposed to come to Mac, and I don't think it did, unless I'm wrong. Doesn't really matter, but it's been in development a really long time. It's a very ambitious game. It came out, there was some wacky reviews, but most everyone likes it. I had a list. Dang it, where'd it go? I meant to save it. It was a list of things you can do in the game, and it was really entertaining to read. Let me see if I can find it really quick. No, these are top tips. It was like you can, buy and sell horses on the black market, or you can like build furniture chairs, or like, I don't know, steal cats, or go beat up. There's like all this like normal stuff you would expect. Like you can be heroic, or you can be a bit of a bandit or whatever. But then there's all this like random extra stuff that you could do in the game that wouldn't be in, this sort of game traditionally from other developers or publishers. It had all of these like funky oddball systems in the combat and in the world and in economics and in whatever crafting and exploring. And I meant to save the list. I don't want to like sit here looking for it, but
yeah. But that's fun. But yeah, in total, it's just great to see this sort of thing come to the Mac platform, and it seems to be very well integrated with the Apple suite of technologies with Metal Effects. There's FrameGen in there. It can, or frame interpolation as Apple calls it. It's the same thing, right? It's got the features you would expect from a native port that is optimized in the modern day. So
I found the list. Okay, I'm just going to read it because it's funny. You can invest in stocks, steal goats, and sell them on the black market. I said horses, it was goats. Chop down trees, mine ore, go arm wrestling, tame a horse, expand your camp through resource management and missions. You can go on like horse-drawn wagon trading missions and whatever. Decorate your house. You can like tackle birds and like stuff them under your arm and like carry them around. And you can like feed cats and dogs so they like you enough and then follow you around because you've like fed them enough. And it's, it just does all this stuff.
You heard it here first, guys. You can become a Disney princess in Crimson Desert.
Some people have said it's like jack of all trades, master of none, but that's like a few disgruntled reviews I said. I mean, maybe that's true if you play the game enough. It probably doesn't. It's probably not a master at every system it presents to you, but it does sound like a very compelling, I don't know if I would use the word sandbox, but just a really wide array of things. It's a single player game, which I also appreciate. It's not trying to weird multiplayer and battle passes and live service, blah, blah, blah. It's just clearly a passion project made for action, adventure, single player RPG style stuff. And I like that. I like to see that in the market, even if I'm not going to buy it right now. I definitely want to try the game at some point. Again, it probably wouldn't run on my M1 Pro, as we just discussed. So I'd have to wait. Sure, I have GeForce Now, but I try to play Mac games natively when I can. Speaking of Civilization 7, you had some thoughts or comments on, or was it added to Apple Arcade in the last episode we did, or since then?
Oh, I can't remember. That might have been the last episode, but I found out some things about that. I found out some things about that I don't like that much as well.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay, so the Apple Arcade version is stuck at a specific patch, and it's not getting updated past that full stop. And that is not good for a Civ game. That also means it is cross-play incompatible with people who have it on different platforms who are past that patch. Major downside. I think that's really the major downside to the Apple Arcade version. It's fine if you just want to, give an iPad to a kid and play that for fun or whatever. But for people who care about the Civ game and multiplayer and stuff, it's just not ideal.
Yeah.
You are better suited with the Steam version, or even buying it off of the App Store. You can get Civ 7 on the App Store with the latest patch, just not through the Apple Arcade version.
Oh my
It's a different
goodness.
version. Yeah.
I
So that's a
yeah.
problem I found out.
That's a bummer. Yeah.
Mhm. But I've now played Civ 7. I bought it and I've put down like 70 hours on it now. And I could do a whole review episode because I have a lot of thoughts about it. But sort of the headline of my thoughts is that it's a really fun game. I quite like it, but it doesn't feel like a Civ game. Um,
Hmm.
it feels like it's wearing the skin of a Civilization game, but all the mechanics just aren't it. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, and I'm not sure how to feel about that because I am having fun with the game. There's also so many things about it that frustrate me. And part of why they frustrate me is because I went into it thinking I was getting a Civ game, and that's not what I got, and that's frustrating. But other parts are just frustrating regardless of what the game calls itself, I think. Um, the biggest one that irritated me is that out of the box, without you going into advanced settings and fiddling with something deep in a menu somewhere that isn't just part of the just give me a new game option. Um, the games are split into these three eras: the Antiquity, the Exploration, and the Modern Age. And all three of them have like effectively a timer before they end, and that timer is affected by things that happen, how much progress you made and stuff. So an age will end faster the more progress people make towards the victory conditions.
Right.
The
Yep.
balancing of that system was such that if I didn't turn that off entirely for the modern age, I'm not sure I could even if I really tried win in any other way than just I got to the end of the timer and I won on points. There are victory conditions like in the other Civ games where you can like win the space race or just do something to win. Um, but I really don't think I could within the limit, like the time limit given to me, win in any other way than just you ran out the clock and you had the most points. Here you go, and that feels um, underwhelming in a lot of ways because you've put in like almost 30 hours into a campaign, and then the campaign is just like the time's up, you win, the end. And I want a big like I sent the rocket into space. I did it. I clicked that button to end the game because I made my victory condition happen.
Yeah.
And with the default settings of a game, and not even just the defaults, but like the setting that changes is buried under advanced settings when you set up the game. Uh, you almost can't get that. It's not to say you can't. There are ways of beating the clock and finishing it before then, but it seems like it is more balanced towards you just running out the clock and winning that way, and I don't like that at all. Apparently, it was also added on later on in a patch or something that there even is as much continuity between the ages as there were in my games, because apparently on the like advanced settings, continuity mode is now the new default, but it's said that the original Civ 7 version shipped in, I think it was called Legacy mode or something, where your civilization resets even more between ages. Your soldiers disappear from the battlefield. Your towns will be just eradicated from the face of the earth and stuff. It's not a Civ game, man. It's something else. And what it is still fun, but it's something else.
Right. For a long time Civ fan, it's not ideal, and I mean that reflects in its ratings. I think it's still mixed to this day on Steam, as opposed to like very positive or whatever compared to
Mm-hmm.
Civ 5, Civ 6, and so on.
Yeah, I do recommend it, especially for people who have never tried a Civ game before. If you don't have any preconceived ideas of what it should be, I think it's honestly still a good game,
Right.
and it does a better job at introducing you to the systems than some of the prior games have done, I think. I
Right.
also think that the new way cities work is honestly more fun than the old system because you sort of build out your city more. Every single time you get a new population, you place them on a tile to build rural tile where they improve the soil or put him in an urban and make him a specialist or whatever. You get more attached to the cities you build up that way and stuff. So I do think that there's some great systems in there. Yeah, especially if you're new to the series.
Nice. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't been playing a Mac game lately, though I hope it will be coming soon to Mac because it's Resident Evil 9 Requiem, or maybe it's
Mhm.
just RE Requiem, I forget which. In any case, it's RE9 for short. I'm a pretty big Resident Evil fan. We've talked about it before in the show, but just a quick recap. I only watched the games as a kid, like my friends playing them on consoles or whatever. I never really played them, but I always enjoyed them. I watched all the movies. Never mind. They're fun, but they're dumb and nothing ultimately. They have very little to do with Resident Evil by the end of it. I think they're rebooting it, if I'm not mistaken. There's a new movie coming out by someone or the other, some director. And but the games wise, I started playing the remakes, I think a year or two ago. And on Mac, I played RE3, thinking I'll just play this for fun. It was like $10 on sale, and I'm like, damn, this is pretty fun. I should check out
Mhm.
RE2. I checked out RE2. I'm like, damn, this is pretty fun, and I bought it and played it. Then I tried the RE4 demo because on the App Store they have these little demos essentially. Like you can play up to a point, and then it's like you can buy the full version and save your progress. Blah blah blah. And I tried that. I'm like, damn, RE4 is pretty fun. I'm gonna play this too. So I did. I did not buy that on sale. It was $60 or $70. That hurt. But I had a really good time. And then after I finished that, and then I bought the DLC, which is pretty substantial. You play as Ada Wong, and for RE4. And then I heard, oh, and then around then the announcement came out for RE9. I was like, oh, pretty cool. I'll probably get it. And I saved it and kind of ignored it till now. It came out, I think, while I was on my trip or around then. And yeah, it's a really good game. I don't know. There's been no particular Mac announcement, but all
Mm.
the others have come to Mac recently, at least on the App Store. So I'm hoping it will. And again, performance is really good, at least on my M1 Pro and all those games. And but yeah, it's a really fun game. So I'm sort of do a quick pseudo review on the premise that it will be coming to Mac. It's a pre Mac review, if you will. I think it's no secret if you're a fan of, like I guess if I look at it from two angles: A, as a fan of the series, and B, if you're not a fan of this or not a fan but you haven't played one before. I bounced off RE7 and RE8, did not like them at all, for various reasons. We already talked about that. Forced first person view, different characters, different setting. Didn't really like any of it. Um, RE9 is both like a new and old. Has a new main character in Grace Ashcroft, although she's the daughter of a character who was in like an obscure spin-off game from 20 years ago or something, but whatever. And of course, Leon returns, who's a mainstream character. That's no secret anymore. So he's familiar, especially if you played RE4, because it's the more like superhero action version of Leon, not the Resident Evil 2, scrappy rookie cop version. Um, but the game recommends you play in first person as Grace for more scares, and third person as Leon. But I would just went into the menu and nope, third person Grace. And
Mm.
there's no button to just switch, which is really annoying. But it doesn't have to load. You can just hit escape, hit options, click third person, right click twice for back, and it just switches your view. It's like, couldn't they have? There's no save, there's no apply, there's no reload. It's like, couldn't you just
Mm.
give me a toggle? Because I would try it sometimes out of interest, and I did. But I'm sort of rambling about the details. But the story is very compelling. Graphics are amazing. Voice acting in particular is like peak. The voice actress for Grace, I forget her name, but oh my goodness, does she do a good job? She's getting a lot of praise for that around the internet, I've noticed. But I was super impressed. Animations in particular, there's a lot of subtle animations I appreciate. And this is the kind of thing I noticed not in RE games, but like way back when they did like the Tomb Raider reboot or like sort of a then current gen or new gen game would come out. And I'm like, oh, there's all these cool details with the characters, how they stumble or how they move around walls or corners or how they touch things. And there's a lot of that in RE9 that I really like. The subtle way they maneuver their guns around or interact with the
Mm.
environment is really good. So I really enjoyed that as someone who pays attention to it. And it's scary as hell, especially playing it at night in a dark room by yourself with some headphones or good speakers. It was like, oh, freaking me out. It's obviously a Resident Evil game, so it's horror, it's action, there's some stealth sections as Grace. Leon's basically all action. but it's like horrifying and violent in a way that feels more Resident Evil-y to me. RE7 felt like a different brand of horror that was sort of extra violent and gruesome in a way I found like unsettling and didn't really enjoy, which is one of the reasons I bounced off it. This feels more in line with what I've played, like Resident Evil 2, or not. Partially, it probably shares the most in common with Resident Evil 2, honestly, at least so far. Especially when you're playing Grace, it's like very much that. And for me personally, Resident Evil 2 is like peak Resident Evil. It's like my preferred format of Resident Evil, so I've been enjoying it a lot. That's my pseudo review. I'm only 6 hours in. Apparently, it takes 12 to 15 hours to finish on average. So some people have like rushed through it in 10, but I'm not rushing. But it's really good. I basically have nothing bad to say about the game other than I wasn't really sure about some save points, and there's both like manual typewriter save points, but also like auto save checkpoints, and it wasn't always clear when it saved. Like I was actually just playing before we did the podcast. I was like, I have no idea if this will save. I'll find out when I go to play later.
So you can't just save in a menu. You have to be at a save point.
You have to be at a save point, or it checkpoints you reasonably often, but I'm not really sure when that is. So I think I lost probably not long. Maybe I lost a few minutes of progress. That's like a minor quibble, but yeah, game's good, and I hope it comes to Mac soon. I'll replay it on because all the Resident Evil games these days are meant to be replayed with like different challenges or different things. So I'm having a good time, and I'll say I'll say when it comes out for Mac, putting out my optimism there. I'll definitely replay it again on my Mac side, but for now I'm using GeForce now, where of course it runs great. But yeah, RV9, good stuff. You know, it's a little pricey these days, these games. I managed to get it on Green Man Gaming for $60 instead of $70. Yay, I saved $10. You know, it's it's not like a key, you know, it's one of those authorized key sites, not a shady one.
Yeah. Green Man Gaming is trustworthy.
Yeah, I use them a lot, but anyway.
I actually noticed when it comes to pricing that the Mac App Store version of Crimson Desert was like in Danish money, like equivalent of $2 cheaper or something. Basically nothing, but still funny. That
hey, $2, I can buy you a coffee or a this or a that or who knows what. So savings. Yeah.
But still, I think it's like the first time I've actually seen the App Store be cheaper in a game than Steam. Because usually, even when they rarely do sales, but even when they do sales, I think it's been, you know, similar sales on Steam or cheaper sales on Steam or whatever. Yeah,
there's a really random, like the Cyberpunk Ultimate version, I think it is like a really random price. It's like $83 or $4 on Steam. On the App Store. But I think and of course you can buy the Mac version on Steam, and of course it's on sale right now. But that aside, I think it's weirdly cheaper on Steam than the App Store or something. I forget, but no, that's because they bundled it on Steam. There's just the base game and the DLC. They don't force you to buy them together. Whereas on the App Store, they've only bundled it as one thing. And I guess technically the base game is $60 and the DLC is $30, so you save like $4 or $5 in that sense. But it goes on sale like 4 to 6 times a year on Steam. So like right now you can get it, you know, for like $40 for the whole thing, including the DLCs. Anyway, whatever. App Store, weird stuff. We've gone on plenty of tangents about the App Store before on this show. No need to do that now. But, you know, things are good. In conclusion, we can kind of wrap it up with that. New hardware, new games, good momentum, good energy around the Mac gaming hardware and ecosystem right now. You know, content creators like Andy Tizer and MrMacRight are doing really well. Our show's numbers continue to surprise me. They're doing really well. That does remind me. I've been poking around our reviews. And I don't get notified when we get a review, so I have to go manually check Apple Podcast or wherever. And you can't even see a summary of your reviews. You have to go by country, and you have to click through one at a time. Or in my case, I used Claude Code to basically grep the feed and pull the latest reviews. And boy, did we get a really unhappy reviewer. It was a while ago. It was like a year or two ago from, oh my God, where was it? Somewhere in Europe, I believe. And yeah, I'm shouting it out, not because I'm making fun of the guy, but he was so unhappy with the show. It was almost funny. Um, at that time, he basically said, we don't talk about Mac games at all. We don't play anything on Mac. We're charlatans and frauds. And he wrote this whole like 1-page rant of hate. I sent it to Casper. I forget exactly what it was now. Some of that is occasionally justified because sometimes there's, what do you want to call it? Lengths of time where we talk more about PC hardware or general tech. We're talking about NVIDIA, or we're just talking about ray tracing, or something in the broader, like we zoom out from Mac and just talk about gaming in general. Or we're playing a latest game that's a PC only release and we're really hyped to play it. So we talk about that. But I don't think an episode has gone by where we have literally never talked about something Mac or brought it up in some capacity. Okay, there's a couple where we're like, this is the one where we review Cyberpunk Edge Runners or something, like a TV show or the Witcher TV show or something. We've done a few sort of spin-offy almost episodes like that.
I do also think one of our favorite, if we did like favorite games of the crew episodes.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
I do think we have had like where no Mac games were mentioned because that just wasn't the favorite games of the crew. But I think we always also point out that the games we talk about aren't necessarily games you can just play on a Mac, but you can play them on a Mac, if you know what I mean, like through other methods. Whether that be Boot Camp in the day, Crossover, GeForce Now, whatever. And to get a holistic sense of the environment that Mac gaming slots into, I do think there's a tremendous value in looking at the markets as a whole, understanding the broader ecosystems around both Apple technologies, but also gaming technologies as a whole, and other gaming related things and technology related things. And that's what we're trying to bring to the table. But all of this said, I still fully take on board the criticism, and I do think it's valid, and we want to touch on as much Mac gaming related stuff as we can. Yes. So if that person is still listening to us, even though the person that seemed upset and probably isn't here anymore, thank you for the feedback, and we are, taking it to heart and understanding and listening to it, even if we do think that a lot of what we talk about still has some justification in the interest of Mac gaming.
We usually find a way to link it back in almost every case. There are obviously cases where we don't, or usually because we can't, because it's like exclusive outside of it, but generally we draw a parallel. Bulgaria, April 12th, 2024, so I'm a little late on that. But the fellow apparently listened for a whole year, and that's what impresses me the most, because he's like, I listened all year, and they never talk about Mac games. They're talking about Steam Deck and Windows and digital board games and rah, rah, rah. So it's true. I'd have to go check the episodes. Maybe that was a period where we mostly focused on that stuff. It's not impossible. We've had some real lulls in Mac game releases or anything of substance for us to chew on in terms of what we're playing or what we're keen on. But no, sorry you're disappointed out there, whoever, Sweetlanov. And if you come back, I hope you found something you like to listen to. On the flip side, we had a very happy person at the end.
I was about to say, let's also point out some of the good stuff, because it wasn't just all bad.
Most all the reviews are 5-star, except for that one guy who's 1-star, so we're 4-star. There were several that had no particular text, just a view. You can just hit stars, and there's no review. But one fellow, Nitro Bacon, what a name. From December 2025, we were talking about crossover, and he hadn't thought about using crossover for gaming, and we were talking about it, and he picked it up, and he's having a good time with crossover. So be cool to see if there's any follow-up there, what Mr. Nitro Bacon is playing in crossover, and has it met his expectations or his gaming needs or whatever you want to call it. That would be an interesting little follow-up if there's ever a comment there. But that was nice to see. Sure, I poked a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say I poked fun at the guy. And maybe I even sounded defensive. But no, we want our listeners to be happy. And of course, I think you got to take feedback from people.
Mm.
But no, we have to give a shout out to NapBro, because ever since that episode, our numbers have been much higher because it pulled a lot of people, pulled a lot of eyes to the show who hadn't seen it before or heard it before. I say seen, we've only put out one video episode ever, and that was the one you did with Andy Tizer and Ted, maybe. The rest of it's audio. But yeah, numbers are good. Again, we just do this for fun. We don't monetize. The number of emails I get trying to monetize the show keep increasing, which is kind of funny.
Mm.
But we do this for love of the game, love of the tech, and love of the hobby, whatever you want to call it. And personally, I'm not interested in trying to monetize it. We already work full-time jobs. This is like relax, have fun time, not, we're not trying to become content creators, streamers, video people, whatever, where that thing would be necessary. But it does mean the show's popularity is increasing because people send me these emails. You're ranked this in the Apple podcast, and you're number 3 for this or this for that, or you're top 10 or top 20. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
But we're doing good. Show's doing good. Apple's doing good.
But if anyone from Apple is listening and wants to sponsor an M5 Max, I'm not going to say no to that. I'm just
yes. No, Casper is he's a hardcore boy. He bought that display. You owe him an M5 Max. Let's go.
Something like that. Sure.
It's for review purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, quote unquote. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's true. We could be more dynamic. Part of that's on me. I haven't made an effort to bring a guest on in a while. We should do more of that because there's always fun people to talk to, whether returning guests or somebody new. We'll see if we can make that happen soon. So,
yeah. To just touch on the review mentioning crossover once more. I've personally also been playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII Remake lately through crossover. Great experience. I love the fact that it works so well that I can just double click it or search for it, spotlight, hit enter, it just launches. Of course, not exactly native. It takes a little extra to boot up the Windows version of Steam and get into it and stuff. But the fact that it does just work is honestly incredible. And I frankly think I have a better experience with it than I did when I went through boot camp on my old Intel iMac. Because I can't just 3-finger swipe and I'm on a Mac desktop, Google something and then swipe back to the game and it just works. I don't want to use the phrase "it just works" because it's like overused, but it does, right? I really do think
pretty dang good.
Incredible.
It's pretty dang good.
And the amount of games that are playable that way is just, it's so much more than it used to be, and it is really incredible the evolution we've seen there. And there is also so macOS 26.4, the latest. I think it's still in beta version of macOS Tahoe.
Right.
Fixes a Rosetta bug as well that makes some more stuff playable and stuff. Because it turns out there was a bug in Rosetta that was preventing some stuff. So hey, things keep getting better. Just wanted to point that out because I really do think it's great. I think it's fantastic that I can play Final Fantasy VII almost as if it were a native game. There are some tells, but still, it's great.
Yeah. Speaking of Resident Evil 9 and crossover, Andy Tizer had a video. It is playable on an M3, M4, or M5, but apparently not an M1 or M2. I didn't look into the details, but that was the quick summary. So occasionally, maybe if you're trying to play like a new AAA game, maybe you need newer hardware, but I personally been impressed by the amount of things. Like, there's quite a, like, for example, on Steam, it's fairly often that a demo of a game will be Windows only, even if the full game has a Mac version. That's often with some like random indie game, but I like to try those. And often the demo's Windows only. I'm like, well, that's annoying, but hey, crossover, bing, just boot it up, install it, bam, try it out. Like, super easy.
Yeah, and generally, if there's not like anti-cheat or something like that, or heavy DRM, things tend to just work, and it's great. I don't want to make this another crossover rant because we've done plenty of that.
Yeah,
But it is really good. And yeah, I just wanted
it is really good.
to point that
Yeah,
out.
if you want to deep dive it and you haven't, Andrew Zai or Andy Tizer on YouTube, he is like the crossover Mac
Hmm.
gaming guy, like the goat, the king. We've had him on the
Hmm.
show a few times. He's amazing, and his content is super informative. Really good, like tutorials, walkthroughs. If the game does need tweaking, Expedition 33 or RE9 or whatever, he's like, "Here's what you need to do to get it running." If it
Hmm.
needs tweaking, or if it doesn't, he's like, "Here's the performance on these various computers and what you could expect on
Hmm.
your machine." So he's like an amazing reference point for anything crossover
Hmm.
related. Yeah,
Also, if you're wondering, I want to play game XYZ, will that even work at all? There's decent chances that his second channel will have a video detailing whether it'll even work or not. So just search up the game on Google and see if he's got a video on it. I was curious recently if it was worth buying Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, if that was even going to work. Um, just Googled it, and his second channel comes up there with yeah, it works, and so I bought it and played that, and yeah, it does. And so yeah, it's a great resource for figuring that sort of things out before you pull the trigger. And of course, Steam has the refund policy and everything, so if you haven't been able to
right.
play it
Yeah,
for more than 2 hours or whatever, you can refund it anyway. But
yeah.
uh, it's a good way of finding out before you buy.
Yeah, try before you buy. It depends. Some people just like to dive in and kind of tinker. I do. I do a mix of depending on the game and my level of confidence, or either I'll just buy it and try it, or I'm like, let me check YouTube videos and detizer or somebody first,
Hmm.
see
Yeah.
what I can expect. Depends on the game, basically. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No, but it's good. Feeling, I'm always an optimist anyway. But things are really good right now, as we established in this episode, and we still have the rest of the year with hopefully more stuff coming. There's not that I know of. I mean, the only other big game that should be in the queue. Okay, RE9 should be in the queue. I say should again based on past history. And Death Stranding 2 should be coming as well because Kojima said he signed a deal or whatever, or he agreed to bring all his future games to the Mac platform.
Mm.
Death Stranding 2 is just hitting PC like this week, I think. Again, I don't have any insider info on this. I'm just pointing it out. Should be
Mm.
coming to the Mac, at least to the App
But
Store.
but didn't it take like a year and a half or something from the PC release of Death Stranding 1 till the Mac
It
release or
did, but
something, or even longer?
I expect that was like none of his games had come before. Okay.
Sure.
I hope the pipeline is quicker now, but of course,
Mm.
unfortunately, that is no matter how good things are with Mac gaming historically,
Hmm.
that pendulum of when will the game come out for Mac as it relates to its PC or console release. Is it next day, next month, next year, 2 years? Honestly, it could be any of those, and we don't know. So that's the that's the problem.
Hmm.
But
Um,
yeah,
I do the new marathon extraction shooter thing is
yeah,
out too, right? Or that
yeah.
still isn't Mac available, right?
No, there's probably no plans because Bungie hasn't put out anything Mac since Microsoft bought them. LOL, way back in the
Mm.
day.
It's just a bit sad with marathon.
No, it is. It hurts. I'm an enormous marathon fan. I still can. I've played through it so many times and every difficulty and all the mods and in the community and um, I can play the theme song in my head like clockwork. And yeah, big marathon fan. It hurts that it's not. I mean, I don't even mind that it's not on Mac. I mind that it uses the marathon IP, but has nothing to do with the marathon. It's an extraction shooter. I'm like, bro,
Yeah, that too.
what are you doing? I mean, at least make it like okay. I understand if you want to make it multiplayer. I mean, heck, even the original or Marathon 2 at least even had like co-op quote unquote campaign mode if you wanted. It's like okay, at least make it like a co-op shooter as opposed to a PvP extraction shooter. I was like, whatever. Not a fan of that. It's doing reasonably well. Um, so good for them and all that. I think it averages 50, 60,000 players on Steam. Um, but yeah, I love Bungie historically. I played a decent bit of Destiny 2. Again, that was back in the boot camp days. Yeah, pretty fun. You can see quite a bit of the like Marathon and Halo. Well, of course, you can see the Marathon DNA in Halo, and in Destiny, you could see like the Halo DNA bleeding into Destiny. Bungie always does things well. They always do guns well. They usually do visual design well. So this new Marathon game, so they're just called Marathon. It has all that crazy colors and striking design and good gunplay and whatever. But extraction shooters are like more in the broad ecosystem of gaming. They're a niche. They have their like hardcore dedicated audience, but they're never going to be 500,000 people, million people playing it, like Slay the Spire or Dota 2 or Counter-Strike or whatever games doing like mega numbers. So anyway, but yeah, it hurts. It does sting, the yieldy, because Marathon was originally, for those who don't know, a Mac-only IP way back in the day, in the 90s. And it was only, I don't even know if Marathon 2 got ported to Windows years later. I know Marathon Infinity did, I think.
I think 2 did, but yeah, it did take a while.
But it was like many years later. It wasn't even like,
yeah.
right away or something.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they went on to make Myth, which I believe those had dual releases. Again, I'm an enormous Myth fan. Myth 1, Myth 2. Myth 3 was a different studio, so never mind that. Wasn't very good. Had like 2 good levels. But no, like they were a huge part of my childhood. And after that, even arguably Halo, because they went on to make Halo, which of course then Gearbox did the PC release, then Macsoft, I think, and Gearbox did the Mac port. And of course,
Halo initially announced at WWDC.
Yes, Steve Jobs, baby, right on stage. Back then, it was a bit of a different game, but yeah.
Oh, it was absolutely.
Yeah, it was more. I think they were making an RTS or something, or like a top-down view, like same like sci-fi IP and everything, but different style of game. Yeah, so obviously Bungie is, a titan historically of gaming. Now they've had a weird history. They were independent, then Microsoft bought them for a while, and that went on for like the later Halo games, 4 and 5, maybe some spin-offs, and then Destiny. Then they went independent, and then Sony bought them. I did hear they're in danger of kind of being swallowed up by Sony because like they have to meet certain monetary targets, and they're not, because Destiny 2 is like faltering, and the budget. There's videos on this by all kinds of people, and the budget for Marathon was like a crazy $300 million or something outrageous, which for an extraction shooter is like you're probably not going to hit the targets you need to like break even. It's not that they're not making money. The current estimates, though, they've made like $50 or $60 million. It's like, well, that's sort of a far cry away from $200-300 million. So we'll see if the game, the game will continue, but will Bungie maintain its sort of autonomy independence within the Sony framework? That's apparently a question. They have like some legal contract where like, if you don't meet XYZ, we're just going to like, boop, take you over and then do whatever we say, whatever. I'm simplifying it, but it's all out there in the internets. So we'll see what happens to Bungie. I'm glad they're still around, but yes, it stings that the people who got them to where they are today are forgotten, alas. Yeah. I say that as by like I'm being a little pedantic or whatever the word is, but the old Mac fans. But it's interesting. But again, I don't know if it's a game you can run through crossover. I don't think Andy had a video on it yet. I'm not sure if he really wanted to. But it's also like I don't know how well like heavy multiplayer connectivity games run through crossover. I'm not sure.
It's fine under the there's the anti-cheat restrictions, right? That prevents a lot of online multiplayer games from working. Right. But ones that do work just fine. But yeah, it's rare that they do work because a lot of multiplayer focused games have heavy anti-cheat that doesn't work with crossover, and is intended not to work with crossover because of the point of the anti-cheat, meaning it isn't the expected system underneath, so it thinks it's illegal, and by design prevents it from working.
Makes sense, yeah. Even if it did, it's the kind of game you need like peak performance out of the game. You don't want any lag or spikes or jitters or bugs when you're trying to play like a PvP multiplayer, like high intensity game anyway. So even if it worked, probably not ideal, but yeah, I don't believe it does.
Yeah, but something like Counter-Strike 2 works, which is also, heavily multiplayer.
It's true.
And there is heavy shader compilation lag the first time any new effect happens, the first time a bomb blows up, the first time smoke grenade happens, or the first time you shoot a specific gun.
Right.
So you should play a round with bots where you get all that out of the way, and then once that's done, you can play it smoothly without lag spikes. But
Oh,
that
that's
is one
nice
of
to know.
the things that you need to bear in mind if you want to go that way. You do need to have the prep time to play a fake round where you just get all of the lag spikes out of the way.
I don't know what game I used to do that with, but it was something. It might have been like Unreal Tournament or Quake 3, or it was some shootery multiplayer or something. I remember like oh no, it was Call of Duty. It was Call of Duty Black Ops in 2013 or whatever. When Aspire released it. To be fair, I think that was when I was trying to run it on purpose on like I had like a MacBook Air or something. I had like a good iMac, but I also had a MacBook Air, and it was under
Mm,
spec, and a lot of people had that computer. So I did all these tests on it, and then I put out some videos on it. Still out
mm,
there. And I recall having to like avoid all these jitters, go into a match with bots, and do what you just said, exactly that. Then go into the actual multiplayer. You didn't have to do
yeah.
that on better hardware, but on like the under spec machine, you had to. It was kind of funny. Yeah,
Mm,
tips and tricks. But yeah, things are good. We have a ton of games to play right now. You know, Crimson
mm,
Desert's the kind of game you can play for 100 hours. Slay the Spire 2 is the kind of game you can play for like a bazillion hours. And the other games we mentioned, top two games should be coming, RE9 and Death Stranding 2. We don't know when, but they should be coming. Other than that, there's no particular like rumors or like promised things in the queue or that I know of anyway. I don't know if there's any games left over from those Apple WWDC like picture images that haven't
Uh,
come out. I don't know. I didn't check.
I think we've been through them all.
I think we have, or all, like 90% of them at least, if not all of them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because there was like the
Um,
various Cyberpunk, some Prince of Persia, and I was Wuthering Waves or something, and whatever. They've
yeah.
all come out. So yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, tons of stuff
Um,
to play.
we'll see if next WWDC gives us another list of those to look at.
Yeah, and hopefully just more juicy ones. Whether it's
Mhm.
porting, um, like a big game we don't have, or just more new IPs same day. Um, what I didn't check into, I don't want to go too much longer on this. Crimson Desert, was that just an in-house port, or did anyone get in on that?
I think it was just in-house.
I think it
I
is.
haven't seen
Yeah.
any mention of anything else. Um, but
It is just
yeah.
Pearl Abyss. Yeah, no other person listed. As far as I
Mhm.
know, it's their first Mac game. It is. Yep. And it's their
Mhm.
only IP is basically Black Desert, this world of whatever Black Desert. It has a name. I'm sure I don't know the lore yet. But yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Apple involvement in it, given how it integrates, the slew of Apple metal effects and stuff. But I don't know. They could have done that without any influence from Apple, but
right.
it does seem like there might have been some Apple sponsoredness over it. No
I
idea.
wouldn't be. Yeah, we'll see. Again, maybe that's something they put up at a talk in the future, or somebody mentions it, or whatever. But no, same day release, and by all accounts, it's a pretty good game, and it's just
Mhm.
cool. It's just great.
Yeah.
Some inject a nice shot in the arm. Again, it's not like there isn't Mac games to play, but these are important for, again, even to play the game, it's important for the visibility, viability, and you could almost say prestige of the platform. Like, oh, XY
Mhm.
game is on it. It's
Mhm.
important for not only other gamers who are looking at the game on Mac, or either existing or potential, other developers who might want to bring their games to Mac. Now we know there's
Yeah.
talks about numbers. Nat Bro, that episode, he talks a lot about like, not, I don't know about a lot, but I know we went over like numbers and returns and whatever. But it's important, pretty much from multiple
Mhm.
angles, every angle. Um,
Yeah,
the
and
game.
like the more the ball gets rolling, the more the numbers will, it's the chicken and egg, right? We've talked about
Yeah,
it many
yeah,
times,
yeah.
and if we get drummed up a zeitgeist around Mac gaming, then the numbers can follow that. One thing has to lead, right? If there
Right.
aren't games, there aren't gamers. If there aren't gamers, there aren't games. Yeah, there has to be some games on the platform that brings the people there, and then once they're there, they can drive sales of other games too and stuff, right? So yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so it's all good. It
Mhm.
is all good. And yeah, we'll be back when we're back, when there's more to talk about. There is other things we could talk about, but this episode's gone on a while, so we'll save it for next time. There's some more games, some more stuff with NVIDIA and DLSS 5, blah, blah, blah. We can do a different episode on that. And,
Mhm.
but yeah, for now, yeah, go ahead.
Just right today, I haven't seen them yet. Apple also released some developer talks about the GPU in the M5 series of chips,
Ooh,
performance optimizing for that and that sort of thing. So by the next episode, I'll have watched that and seen if there's anything worth commenting on. It might just be like nitty gritty details that aren't that valuable to talk about, but maybe there's a few golden nuggets in there that we can talk about too.
nice, nice. Sounds good. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for listening, both past and future listeners, and people who like us, people who don't. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Have fun, everyone.